Happy Friday. Welcome to the Randy Karraker Show on Sports Hub STL. And Sports Hub STL is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Brooke Grimsley is here. Matthew Rockio is here. Hi, Brooke. How you doing?
Good. Happy Friday, everybody.
You're going to do more birthing classes this weekend, huh? Stuff like that?
No, we've graduated past the birthing classes and the labor classes. Now it's infant care classes.
Oh, infant care. Okay.
So every weekend there's something that we're doing to prepare ourselves. But as I was telling you, Randy, I don't think we'll ever be prepared for what's about to come.
One of the things is that you don't want the baby to squirt out of your hands after you give it a bath.
Okay.
And drop it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, otherwise I think you're fine.
I think so. I have to remind myself that a lot of people have been doing this for a long time throughout human history. That's how we all are here right now, and we should be just fine. I don't need to overanalyze, but I am a type A personality, so it's been hard. Yeah. It's been hard because I want everything organized, everything set up, and I know that none of it will go to plan.
None of it is predictable. No, that's right. And clearly, when you look at society now, a lot of kids have been dropped on their head.
Oh, Randy. What makes you say that? What makes you say that? Oh, and Rockio and Wilson both raising their hands to that one. You know, they won't remember.
That's true. They will not.
They won't remember whatsoever. So if it happens, just, don't tell anybody.
Okay, so we need your help on the chat for your favorite facing elimination cliche. I'll just give you one, do or die. But we need more on the chat. I want all the cliches that we can possibly get for what the Blues face tonight when they play Game 6 at Enterprise Center at 7:00 against the Winnipeg Jets.
They just got to stick to their game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
we know what our game looks like.
Yes, they know what their game looks like. They just got to stick to it. I think that's a big one that you always hear when you're facing elimination.
Yeah.
We were talking about, too, and you can weigh in on the chat. Oh, I like this one from Samuel Howe. Take them one at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
think that's a really win or go home.
Another good one is a great one. Yep.
for Topher Rocks. That's the motto going in tonight. And then this is good morning, hubbies.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
is that a thing?
We both said it like a question mark.
Hubbies?
I like this.
Sports Hub. Yeah, we're the hubbies.
Is it a thing? I like this. Renegade, we just started it now, thanks to you. We'll give you all the credit for that one. We are the hubbies.
I like Renegade's next one, though. The Blues need to try and do too much. I love that.
You need to go out and do as much as possible. By the way, update if you guys did not see yesterday, but Mark Scheifele is not traveling to St. Louis, so he will not be here for Game 6. Aw, a positive for the Blues. But Rain and I were talking about this before the show started, that Winnipeg fans are losing their minds about Scheifele not playing Scheifele in the big hit, if it was actually the Braden Shin hit or if it's the Faxa hit. Which one was it? Does it really matter? No. Either way, he will not be there for Game 6. And fans are losing their minds. The Jets fans are losing their minds about Braden Shin and that hit.
Yeah, and I think, number one, maybe they just don't have much playoff experience. I don't know. But it seems to me like fans in Canada should have a better grasp of the rules than fans in America. I get the sense that we have a better grasp here. Maybe because they won the President's Trophy, like you said. Maybe they think they deserve.
My theory was maybe they think they deserve special treatment because they won the President's Trophy. I don't know what it is, but just even watching the way that some of the Canadian media has talked about this subject. One, I talked about this going into the series, but even when they're talking about the series, they act like the Blues are this shocking, lowly team. And how in the world are the Jets losing to them? How are you not going to talk about their 12-game winning streak and being one of the hottest teams, the hottest team in the NHL after the Four Nations break? You're just going to disregard that. You're going to disregard Jordan Binnington. You're going to disregard all the players that they have, and they're playing without Dylan Holloway. People are trying to act like, for whatever reason, that the Blues are fully healthy going into the series, and they're not. And even throughout the series, we've seen Jordan Kyrou, who had that big hit by Stanley. He hasn't really been the same. He's -5 through the series currently right now. Robert Thomas clearly going through something. So you don't even have your big guys at near 80%. I would definitely not say 100%.
Jordan Kyrou is my pick to click tonight, by the way.
I think
he's going to bounce back. The statistics are not great when you're down 3-2 in a series. In league history, teams that have taken a 3-2 lead win the series 79% of the time. And the Blues are right there with that statistic. I'm a math whiz, as you know. The Blues are 1-4 all time when falling behind 3-2. I believe that's 20%. 1-4, right? 1 out of 5 would be 20%.
I am not the
Matthew?
I'm not the math person either.
So
He's giving us a thumbs up. Thank
so
you.
21% of the time teams come back after trailing 3-2, and the Blues have done it 20% of the time. And oh, by the way, that one time they wound up winning the Stanley Cup. The win was against Dallas in 2019 when they were down 3-2, came back, won there, and then came back, and we remember what happened in Game 7 against Dallas.
I think another thing that works for the Blues is home ice advantage. They have won 14 straight at Enterprise Center. There definitely is something about playing in front of the home crowd too, and the atmosphere that fans have created there at Enterprise Center is just absolutely electric. I think that's a big part of it. And we were talking about cliches going into this game
Love
tonight.
cliches.
Yes, we love them. You have to start out hot. I know that we always talk about that, but I think it does make a huge difference because when you look at Game 5 the other night, when they were in Winnipeg, that I felt like at the very beginning of that game was a chance for them to really come out and take advantage of Hellebuyck, who has been struggling in those games leading up to it, and those 2 games leading up to it, where you would think that maybe they would have been pressuring him a little bit more. Nathan Walker, by the way, he deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. I said dub, but that WTF line has been so exciting. It felt like they kind of lost that net front battle outside of Walker's goal. So getting back to that pressing Hellebuyck like we saw in those 2 games at home at Enterprise Center leading up to that game the other night in Winnipeg. And I think they only had like 9 shots on goal in the first 2 periods in that Game 5 loss the other night.
3 in the second
Hellebuyck
period.
and getting to his head early.
Got outshot 14-3 in the second. With you 100%, number one, you have to do what you've done tonight, right? You've got to, like you said, they've won 14 in a row at home. They've dominated here, 7-2 and 5-1 victories. So take care of business tonight. And then Sunday, they have to do the exact same thing that they do here. And you can't be influenced by the crowd. You can't be influenced by the whiny Scott Arniel. You just have to take care of business the way you do here. And if you can beat Hellebuyck again, like you did in games 3 and 4 here, if you score 5, 6, 7 tonight, then all of a sudden you've got the quick turnaround, and it is in his head going back home.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he's had issues when the Blues were loading up the box. And I think that's why you have to get back to that net front presence and battling in front of him where you can really block his vision and do what you did the other night, what Mike Walker did. Walker, by the way, I feel like he's under the radar this season, but he's one of my favorite players. I love his story. One being Australian is cool. He's not a big guy.
Cheers, mate.
But he's pesky. You notice him on the ice. Even if his ice time is limited, that WTF line is not meant to be your best line, but they're the ones that you notice the most in that game the other night.
Nadub plays playoff hockey, right? He gets it, and he's not intimidated by anything. And he's willing, if you need to drop the gloves, he's willing to drop the gloves. Scored a couple of goals. He's doing everything that a fourth liner should do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A couple of other notes from the chat line. Hockey Dad Don, I had to go to urgent care last night, and Montgomery was my doctor. LOL.
Is that a sign? That could be a sign. If he saved you, then maybe that's what it is.
He does have his medical license. So Scott Arniel, take that.
Oh God, Scott Arniel was very upset. What do you feel like that message that he was trying to send out? Was he trying to get the league to do something about Braden Shin?
Maybe because he said, "No, I don't know why you've been after the league for all 5 games of the series."
What has he been talking to the league about for 5 games?
That's a weird thing. Maybe
when he brought that up,
coaching a little bit.
I don't get it because it's been a physical series, and that going back to what we see from Winnipeg Jets fans on social media and even how some of the Canadian media is talking about it, you would think that the Blues are the only ones who are hitting people.
Don't you think Monty's in his head?
Yes.
I think Monty is totally in his head, and Monty is as even keel as can be, and this guy just can't stop talking about Jim Montgomery. By the way, has a ton of respect for Jim Montgomery, as evidenced by he thinks that Jim Montgomery is a doctor, but in addition to being a coach. But it seems like if you're on the phone with the league all the time, you probably can't do as much coaching as you would need to do.
Yeah, he's mad. If you guys didn't see, I know that we talked about that a little bit yesterday, but he's mad because Montgomery said that basically Scheifele was still on the ice and that it was more the Faxa hit that caused the issue. than anything.
Maybe.
How do you know for a fact it's the shin hit? So he could say the same thing of like, are you a doctor where you know for a fact it was the shin hit? Then why did he stay on the ice? He was clearly, I will say, by the way, because when we talked to Cam Jansen about it, where he always talks about taking away somebody's soul, you could definitely tell that he was not the same after that shin hit. And you would think that he'd have his head a little bit more on a swivel, that he'd be paying attention a little bit more after that. Even with that shin hit, he wasn't aware of his surroundings in that situation.
And there was the Faxa hit was the crowning blow.
Yeah.
Where the crown is yours. But the thank you.
Both clean hits, in my opinion.
Totally clean.
Clean hits. And it's playoff hockey. Isn't that the point of all of this?
Right. Maybe it was fake WWE blood. That's from Samuel Howe. Thank you, Samuel.
The blood's real. The WWE blood is real.
Yeah.
Joe, who is the resident WWE expert.
Hockey Dad Don. I just pray the referees don't ruin the game tonight. I'm with you there. Don't determine the game. Make sure that we don't know who you are tonight.
Ralph Jenkins asked, what was the difference between the shin hit and the Logan Stanley hit on Jordan Kyrou in game 1? I would say the other side is debating about when the feet left the ice. That seems to be the big part of that too. If he was going more for his head, upper body up there, if that had more to do with it. And also if the puck was in play.
Well, and that's one of the problems when you're Logan Stanley. And this, I hate to defend the guy, but when you are 6'7", your elbows are way higher for a guy that's 5'9", 5'10". So it's those kinds of things are going to happen. I didn't have any problem with the Stanley hit.
I didn't like to see it because you could tell that Jordan Kyrou was absolutely rocked in that moment. But at the same time, you know it's going to happen during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Once again, we've seen it happen time and time again.
It's playoff hockey.
You just have to move on from it. But they act like over in Winnipeg that this is just awful, that there's hitting in hockey.
Have you guys, by the way, Matthew, Brooke, did you get a chance to sleep on my idea about how we handle Logan Stanley?
You know, I don't think we can. The spearing is what Randy is referring to. That
you're carrying a stick, and it's kind of like at gut level.
Randy,
so
when you can't get Cam Jansen onto the argument, I think we just have to kind of toss it away.
I think Cam considered it.
No, he said you're going to get a 2-5-10. You're going to have a 7-minute power play, and you're going to be down a player for the rest of the game.
Maybe you do it when you're up 7-2.
Okay. Here's the thing. Why do you need to send a message when you're up 7-2?
Because you've got game 7. Because you're going to have game 7. You knock him out. You make him feel shame for the summer.
Jesus.
What?
It's a hockey game, Randy. My God.
Well,
he's out here trying to make sure people lose.
I'm emotionally invested.
Clearly,
I care.
Randy, you got to be like Michael Corleone. This is just business,
just
Sonny.
Business, huh?
This get emotional. This is just business, Sonny.
This could be Ben says Parayko needs to drop the gloves versus Stanley. By the way, what do you think happens tonight? Because there definitely will be a response from the Jets with Scheifele. What do you guys think happens tonight if we're doing some early predictions there?
Yeah, they'll try to knock somebody out, and the Blues have to just maintain their equilibrium and allow.
Why do I feel like it's going to be Stanley targeting Snuggerud or something like that?
I don't think it'll be him.
You don't think so?
No.
If you had
somebody will wind up in the box though for Winnipeg.
I feel like they're going to try to send some sort of message tonight versus the Blues, because that's what I felt like that shin hit was a response to maybe the Kyrou hit the other day, or just an opportunity too. But I felt like that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see, because I don't know that Arneal has kept his mind. I don't know if he's telling his players, look, don't react. I think Arneal reacted so much to Monty. I think the team will probably have that same attitude.
How much you want to bet that Monty absolutely loved that response too?
Oh, loved it.
Loved it. And by the way, so no Scheifele, no Velarde, and I think they're missing one other guy too. Is it Ehlers or?
Nikolai Ehlers. Yeah, he will not be there either.
So they're missing 3 of their best forwards.
That happens. This is a war of attrition. This is how you win. And by the way, I think if the Blues move on here, even if they beat Winnipeg, I think one of the things that, because of the injuries that they're dealing with, especially the Holloway injury and now Tyler Tucker, it is a war of attrition. And I don't know that the Blues have the depth at this point to withstand another round, especially against a really good team.
You don't think so? You don't think the Blues have enough depth for that?
I think they did. I don't think they do now. I think their depth is severely tested now with Holloway and Tucker out.
Well, yeah, Tucker being out, he was considered day-to-day. So is there any opportunity that we could see him coming back tonight, I doubt it. But
I would doubt it too.
Yeah. Losing Tyler Tucker, I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal whenever I saw that he was putting Tyler Tucker out there. But I feel like he plays such a simple but effective game.
He does. And we're getting an opportunity to see his skill set, because I only thought that he was he could skate a little bit, but I just thought he was a tough guy.
Yeah, that he was just brought in to fight.
Yeah, now you see that he's got some offensive skill.
What did you think? And I'm not trying to just pick on certain players here, but clearly not a great game for everybody. That Neighbors, Shen, and Kyrou line, do you see Monty maybe mixing a match? He kind of did that during the last game where you saw some guys moving up down lines. Do you think he breaks up that group? Because Kyrou, something else needs to happen to get him going a little bit. You mentioned that he's your pick tonight for somebody to break through. But I wasn't a big fan of that Letty Suter pairing either.
But what do you
don't have any other options. You don't have any other options.
Yeah, that's my question there. And I would think that at least at the outset, Monty will keep the lines together.
Yeah.
Because they have succeeded at such a high level at home.
Yeah.
And he gets the last change.
Yeah. I don't know. I
just thought, if things don't work
and that
out,
was also Suter coming back in the game because Tucker has been playing, and so that was a big part of it. I also wonder if Parayko is 100% at this point. I still feel like that maybe he's not fully there just yet.
I agree with you. Yeah, and maybe they aren't going to get any time off if they play. If they win, they're going to have Game 7, and they aren't going to have much time for these guys to heal anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, Brooke, did you know that Sports Hub STL post-game shows are brought to you in part by Hot Shots? And they invite you to come out to their St. Charles location on Sunday, June 1st, to celebrate their 35th anniversary. Now, post-game shows, you got Cards Hub 365 after the Cards and Mets tonight. You've got our Blues Hub show after the Blues take on the Jets. And then you've got BattleHawks. I'm on the BattleHawks post-game tonight.
I heard. How exciting
about that. So all brought to you by Hot Shots. The fun on June 1st, though, starts at noon with a parking lot party featuring the Budweiser Clydesdales. Prizes will be given away all day, and there's a dart tournament at noon, bags or a cornhole tournament at 2, plus a chance to win Hot Shots tacos for a year by beating me or Brooke or Matthew in the taco eating contest. Congratulations to Hot Shots on 35 years. Hot Shots, St. Louis home for all the games all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. Don't forget, you can also hang out with Rizzuto and Rafe from the Rizzuto Show on 105.7 The Point, and you have celebrity bartenders from St. Louis City SC.
That's
awesome.
Cool.
June 1st.
June 1st. I should say, and just correction here, I meant to say that Velarde, Ehlers, and Scheifele have missed time during this series. So Velarde clearly is going to be there for Game 6. Scheifele not. He will not be there. So that is still a big story because Scheifele has been incredible during this series.
Yeah, he has. So thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
He'll be watching from Winnipeg. That's where he'll be watching.
Yeah, from a dark room with a severe headache.
Oh.
Well, am I wrong here?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. That was brutal.
Brooke, the Cardinals are, as we mentioned, going to take on the Mets tonight at the ballpark. Obviously, not a great game yesterday. You know what? Before we get to the Cardinals, let's point out that there is a big Blues pep rally this afternoon at 3:30. We'll mention this again, but Union Station, 3:30 pep rally. Curbs and Joey are going to be there. Cam Jansen's going to be there, and they're going to be giving away a pair of tickets. So if you don't have tickets to the game tonight, head on over to Union Station at 3:30. They're going to give away 2 free mezzanine level tickets to Game 6. A QR code will be available at the rally for fans to scan and enter the giveaway. So bring your phone to the pep rally tonight, and maybe you will have the opportunity to win the tickets. But go to the Blues pep rally; it'll be fun. And then if you don't win the tickets, don't have tickets, get home or to your place that you enjoy to watch the game. But yeah, I'd like to win two free tickets.
That would be nice. And you get to see Cam out there too.
Yeah, get an autograph
Cam yesterday.
Yeah. Okay, so yesterday, a 1 hour, 37-minute rain delay. And after the rain delay, the Cardinals didn't have a base runner. Pretty good work by the big left-hander. And you have to be happy with where Matthew Liberatore is. He only threw 42 pitches. He's averaging 14 pitches an inning in his 3 innings of work. He did a pretty good job. Did allow the 2-run home run to Trevino, but I like where Matthew Liberatore is. I'm very happy with him in the rotation. The offense, though, is just a roller coaster.
It is a roller coaster. After you had that great doubleheader where the offense just exploded, that was the response. And I don't know what to take away from it because it was a rain delay. I'm not trying to give these guys an excuse whatsoever, but clearly the energy was just gone.
No,
they were ready to go.
And the Reds had a rain delay too, and they wound up scoring 7 more.
I know. Well, it was just disappointing to see. I thought this was interesting. This is an interesting stat. The Cardinals have lost the last game of all 5 road series they played this year as they fell to 4-13 away. At least they were able to come away with 2 wins on the road, so that was a positive. But something about that last game of a road series where they have the opportunity to close it out. This was your opportunity to get your first road series sweep of the season, and they weren't able to do that.
And something is obviously different on the road than at home. Bill Downton, the Cardinals scored 3 runs over 32 innings. When was that? Because they scored over 14 over 3 innings at the end of the first game of the doubleheader, and the first 3 innings of the second game they had scored 14. So what 32 innings are we talking about where the Cardinals scored 3? I don't know.
Road series win. Sorry. I'm struggling today. We have to remember that Brooke has pregnancy brain. So sometimes it happens, guys. But yes, road series win. But this is a chance for them to be able to close it out with the Reds, and they weren't able to do that. And I felt like the bullpen, that's been a story this season. But I think that what you were touching on, the offense, that is kind of like Jekyll and Hyde at this point.
Right. And they need to become more consistent. And sometimes a pitcher just has a good day, right?
Yeah.
But it was kind of weird the way things went. You made the point, and I think you were only half joking about they just wanted to get out of there. I think that was probably part of it. Okay, you played a doubleheader the day before. You want to get home. You have a rain delay, and you're saying, okay, fine, let's just finish this and get home.
They do need to close it out, though.
Yeah.
When the story has been your struggles on the road this season, you would like to see them close out the series on top. Another thing, too, and Herrera, I know that a lot of people are excited about him coming back. 3-run homer for him in Memphis yesterday.
That's good.
You need that bat to return to your lineup.
So are you going to have him behind the plate? You're going to DH him? What are you going to do with him?
He's still going to be catching a little bit.
Okay. Because Pajes is a power hitter now, too.
Apparently. Yeah. That's been a nice development this season.
We got a chat earlier that I can't pull up right now where they said, send Baker down, keep Pozo when Herrera's back.
I'm good with that. Yeah. Because that way, if you want to DH Herrera and your starting catcher would get hurt, you don't have to give up your designated hitter.
There's so many DHs on this team, and that's the part that it's hard to get past.
RBI too. I mean, just the position, just with the way it's producing, you can't find at bats for anybody else in there.
It's not the best scenario for the Cardinals. There's no doubt about it. Okay, let's figure out who you would say is primarily a DH. Obviously, Gorman is primarily a DH, right?
Yes.
Herrera is primarily a DH.
Yes.
Luke and Baker primarily a DH?
No.
Nope.
I think it's just kind of a minimized role off the bench.
Yeah, but if he has a position,
yes, DH.
Okay. Barrero's not. You don't want to hit him. Burleson?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Contreras, interesting one. Should he be primarily a DH? Or is he fine as your first baseman? Have you seen enough at first base so that you're cool with him as a first baseman?
I think, just have him be at first base.
Okay, then Gorman would be 5.
Mm-hmm. Did you already say Gorman?
I don't think so. Maybe I did. Herrera,
Gorman,
Baker, Burley,
Gorman.
So that's 4. Okay, I think
that's too many DHs.
That's a lot of DHs.
That's a lot of DHs.
Too many damn. And again, if they were all combining in some platoon role to hit middle of the pack relative to the rest of the MLB for that position, fine. But they're not doing that. This is the definition. If you have 4, you don't have 1.
That's true. You're 100% right.
Ray says Gorman can handle second base and third base just fine. He's only a DH due to better options right now. I
really think that his best position, I don't know enough about him at third. But I think in terms of him being a second baseman, I think if I were to choose between him at second and DH, I would want a more proficient defensive second baseman and then have him DHing.
We also saw the issue with Gorman playing second base, which is when an outfield spot opens up because Victor Scott, you don't want to have him face lefties. Well, then you could put Lars Nootbaar in center field. You could move Brendan Donovan, who's, even though he's a lefty, he's hitting great no matter what. So you put him in left field. And now second base is open for Nolan Gorman, except he also doesn't hit lefties. So how are you supposed to, like, there's the time to get him even to second base, the way to move it around, even those ones are kind of taken away situationally.
And they were hoping, when they were planning on him being their everyday second baseman last year, they were hoping that he could become league average. But that's not how you win. You don't win hoping that a guy becomes a league average middle infielder. You need to have really good defense on the middle infield.
So what do you think happens when Herrera returns? Because I know that you floated this idea out there of Herrera maybe eventually having him switch positions like we've seen with Wilson Contreras. I don't think you can do that this season, though. I don't think that you can do that this season with Ivan Herrera. He just needs to be a catcher and DH, as we were discussing. But do you see them keeping Pozo around? I know that there was some concern about Pozo and injury. The x-rays came back just fine, if you saw that at the end of the game yesterday. So you have some more catchers, and then Jimmy Crooks is on the way. I know a lot of fans are excited about him.
Bernal,
do they go ahead and start taking time away from Herrera behind the plate this season and start floating that idea around?
Well, maybe they hope that his arm will get stronger. But the scary thing would be, like, remember a couple of weeks ago when the Brewers stole 6 bases in the first inning and wound up stealing 9? I wonder if teams will start taking advantage of the knowledge that he just can't throw people out. It doesn't matter when.
Yeah.
I think the athletic and smart teams, if Herrera's behind the plate and they get on base, they'll run wild.
Yeah.
So that would be my concern. But I think, a little to your point, what else are you going to do? I mean, I agree with you 100%. I would hope that you can start teaching him how to get in the outfield and play the outfield, but I don't want to play him out there. And especially now, because you want to see what Walker can do, you know what Nootbaar can do, and you want to find out more about Victor Scott. So if you send a guy like Herrera out there, it'd be on a limited basis. And you do have to, with your players, kind of make them think you're trying to win. So if you have the opportunity to have like Burleson in left and Herrera as your DH, that would tell your players, okay, they're trying harder to win.
I'm just thinking with Pozo here, how you balance all of this.
Well, you can make, that would be hard.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they stay with 3 catchers when Herrera returns. But I'm just trying to figure out how you then make sure that everybody's getting the right time. Also, the pitchers clearly have their preferences. I know that some people talk about that too, about why do the pitchers get the opportunity to be able to choose who their catcher is? They're going to pick the catcher that they're most comfortable with. And it seems like Pages is that guy. Pozo has stepped in nicely too. So that's not a knock on Herrera, but the arm, I think, has been a concern that we've talked about with him. How in the world do you balance all 3 of those catchers?
You just don't play Pozo that much.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to. He should just be happy to be here.
He should just be happy to be here. I mean, be grateful for the opportunity and make the most of it whenever you get it. This could be Ben says the Cardinals. Oops, it went away from me.
Oh
no. Let's see. The Cardinals did not do a good job at building a roster and have too many questions, too many players for a few spots. Yes, the roster construction has been a huge issue, and that is on John Mozeliak and the front office. They did try to move Nolan Arenado, and I think that was a big part of their plan, clearly, because they said during the offseason, John Mozeliak saying that was priority 1, 2, and 3 to move Nolan Arenado, and it just didn't happen. So that, I felt like, just crumbled any plans with this roster construction and getting a lot of these young players that you're trying to evaluate enough time, enough bats, enough opportunities.
And Brooke, let's look at it even deeper, because they did go to Gray and Contreras, right? So if Arenado, Gray, and Contreras aren't here, then all of a sudden Gorman's at third, McGreevy's in the rotation, and you're playing Burleson at first. Changes things dramatically if you're able to do that. Now, you probably aren't as good, but you're able to find out more about more people. The Cardinals did trade pitcher Ryan Ludus to the Doyers for cash. They had DFA'd him a couple of days ago to put Barrero on the roster, so expect Ryan Ludus to be pitching in high leverage situations in the World Series this year.
As soon as you saw that it was the Dodgers, what was your first thought?
I thought of a guy named Ryan Brazier, who the Dodgers got 2 years ago from the Red Sox. In his first 20 games in 2023, Ryan Brazier with the Red Sox had a 7.29 earned run average. He gets to the Dodgers, pitches in 39 games, and has an 0.70. If the Dodgers are interested in one of your guys, ask everybody in your organization, why do the Dodgers want this guy?
What is going on? What do they know that we don't know?
They know something. And so, Ryan Ludus, congratulations.
Congratulations. You're one of the Dodgers. What a great story, by the way. And I know that we have shared it before, but Wash U grad, he was more on the department side of things.
Yeah, they wanted him to develop an app or something.
Yeah, I think he did develop. It's called a Chirp app. Derek Gould of the Post-Dispatch has a great article about it right now that you can go read. But what a journey it's been for Ryan Ludus. So congratulations to him, because you now know that the Dodgers are going to maximize that talent.
No doubt about it. By the way, Brooke, I am really fired up today about DraftKings Pick 6 with baseball season being here. I do this pretty much every day. It's the greatest way to play for cash and take a shot at a big win. And I'm going to go with my stars tonight, okay? I've got two guys that I'm going to go for total bases. Aaron Judge to go more than 1.5 total bases, and Shohei Ohtani to go more than 1.5 total bases. So I've got a star-studded pick 2 today. All you need to do is select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. So total bases, home runs, strikeouts for a pitcher. You can do a lot of cool stuff. And you can play it here in Missouri. You can play in Georgia. You can play in California and Texas. It's pretty awesome. Cash in on your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 back and pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. You need to play DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right. Bernie Miklasz is going to join us now, as he does every Friday. The great Bernard J. Miklasz, part of the Sports Hub STL team. There he is. How are you, sir?
Hey, it's great. I've been listening to you guys, and gosh, what great sports talk. I mean, seriously, outstanding. So as a colleague, but also just as a viewer, I really appreciate it. You guys had me laughing about the Scott O'Neill stuff. So
thank you.
I think you're right, Randy. I think maybe, I don't know what it is. Maybe he's a fan of the big hit on HBO Max, Pitt. You know, maybe he's been watching too much of that, and he thinks he's a doctor. You know, but what he call him the NHL office all the time.
All the time, 5 games.
I mean, it's like, and I'm watching this series, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe maybe the Jets have out-hit the Blues so far. It's really close.
Yes,
but I've seen the Jets deliver some vicious hits. It's a very physical series. I'm watching a lot of NHL series. Then I was paying particular attention to the Capitals, and my brother Brad's filling me in on stuff because he's a hockey nut. And, you know, analysts are saying that this might be the most physical, violent, vicious, nasty postseason that they can remember. Everyone's trying to kill each other. And this guy is whining? What? I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, first of all, this is his first postseason as a coach. So I guess you cut him some slack because he's never been there before. But anyway, I just had a riff on that because you guys had me going. You guys had me laughing and also getting ticked off. So great job.
Yeah, I do enjoy. Remember when Hitch had Mike Yeo and poor Mike Yeo, he just had Mike Yeo beside himself in a series. I think it might have been the 2016 series against Minnesota, and Hitch was just taking every little nugget Yeo was taking every little nugget that Hitch would drop for him.
No, I remember that too, and I wish I could remember some specifics, but Hitch was very good about getting under the opposing coach's skin. So he was great. The Blues have had some great coaches, man. I mean, Craig Berube, I was so happy Toronto won last night because
me too.
All the Toronto media was, very, very busy writing and talking about, well, the Maple Leafs are going to choke it away again. So I was really glad he won. But yeah, I just and Brooke, you guys were talking about this too, about the people in Winnipeg. I'm always surprised when a Canadian media market or Canadian hockey market is naive. I don't know why. I expect them to be smarter than us. I really do.
I do too.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and you said that, and then to your guys' point, you know, they act like the Blues are some kind of riffraff that, you know, got into the playoffs with like a losing record or something. And I went back. You guys fired me up. I went, you know me, Mr. Numbers Nerd. I went back since to the start of February. See, I even went back a little further than like before the Four Nations thing. You know, I mean, rather than after. Since February the 1st, the Blues have had a better record than Winnipeg, and they've scored a larger percentage of the 5-on-5 goals than Winnipeg, and they've been a better team than Winnipeg. So why is it a supposedly knowledgeable hockey country? It's got people acting like the Blues got into this thing, you know, with like 30 wins or something. What is wrong with these people? And plus, your team never wins in the playoffs. So what the hell do you know about it?
Yeah. Well, and then it's you know, after clean hits, it's refs you suck. You know, maybe just pay attention to the game and understand that the refs in this particular situation know the rules better than you do.
No, amen. Absolutely. And I actually think the refs have been pretty good in this series. And I know that they change them out. It's not like the same crew, but I haven't had any moments where I'm like, you know, shrieking at the TV or anything. It's, yeah, you get irritated because that's the NHL, but there haven't been any like anything like really egregious in terms of calls in this series. And I just hope the Blues can get it back up there to Game 7 and just rock their world. And they're going to have to, if they get to Game 7, man, they're going to have to play a lot better. I've been very disappointed in their performances on the road so far in this series because they got away from what they are in all 3 losses. And so I assume the Blues are going to take care of business tonight. I'm not cocky about it. But the Blues have been such a incredible team at home. And the fans are always incredible. And I just think that'll carry them through. And what they got to do is basically, you know, find a way to spend the evening in Mr. Hellebuck's goal mouth, basically. You know, they just have to live with him there. And he'll fall apart. They didn't do that at all in Game 3. I mean, you know, Game 5. They didn't do it at all. You know, he could have had a sandwich. He could have in that second period, he could have had a meeting on ice during the game with his sports psychologist, you know, and no, seriously, I think I saw him calling his wife and kids in the stands during the game. Yeah, I think he had a smile. The Blues never went after the Snuggeroo goal. They never went near him for the entire period. No. So the Blues got to get back to like messing this guy's head up, scrambling his brains, right? Get his head wires all snipped and tangled and just messed up. That's so, and then do it, then do it again in Game 7. Certainly they can do that once on the road, right? I would think.
You'd think so.
I would hope so at this point. And to your point too, that was something that I was surprised about in Game 6, Bernie, and you have an article out about this, and you talked about this too on YouTube. People can go see this video, but we were discussing this earlier too, that kind of mentality early in the game. Why not get to Hellebuyck earlier? They only had 9 shots on goal through the first 40 minutes the other night. It seems like you have to take advantage of the opportunity where you're already in Hellebuck's head, go ahead and get to him early so that it snowballs.
See, that's the one thing I'll say, and I like. Look, I think Jim Montgomery is a magnificent coach. Don't get me wrong. I love Jim Montgomery. He saved their season, and he transformed a team within a season in such a dramatic way. I mean, they were the 26th team in winning percentage when he took over, and then they became a top 6 team after he took over, and they've been the best team in the league since February 1st. So he's a great coach. That said. Given how successful they were in Games 3 and 4 at home, and just utterly defeating Hellebuyck physically and mentally and emotionally, and getting him benched 2 games in a row for the first time in his career since April of 2022, I would thought Jim Montgomery and those players would just go to Winnipeg and say, okay, We know what we have to do. There's no doubt about it. Like it's not, nothing's easy, but in terms of defining an assignment, right? It was about the easiest assignment you could define for your team. Get in that guy's grill and he will fall apart. Just park it in front of his porch, sit on the porch, give him a few elbows, a few taps, and he will just become completely unhinged. And they didn't do it. I mean, I'm still like, I know I'm being a drama king and all that. I still can't believe they played that type of game in Game 5.
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm with you because I figured they go in there with the way they dominated here. I thought they'd go in there and do the exact same thing. And I know Winnipeg has something to do with this too. They're in scholarship too. But the Blues, to be as ineffective as they were in the second period, was kind of disheartening. And yeah, I get it's hard. It's hard to win in the playoffs, but you're going to have to go in there and do it in Game 7. And that's what the Blues set themselves up for, Bernie, is to me, that's the biggest thing is they could have come back here with an opportunity to win, giving themselves 2 chances to win this thing. And instead now they only have that small margin of error.
And yeah, you're right. And listen, I think I'd be really stunned if they failed to take care of business tonight. I just would be, because I have that much respect for them. They're not a little underdog at all, period. But they're certainly not like the little engine that could at home. They're a dominant team at home. So this will be great. I would also loved when you guys were talking about O'Neill is so psyched out by all this, and he's going to do something stupid, maybe by trying to have one of his guys take out someone. And I just hope it's not Binnington. But I will say this: I like Hofer, but Binnington's in a separate class when it comes to big time games. So I hope they don't do a what was that? What was Mother Teresa's name for Colorado that took Binnington out a few years ago?
Oh, Kadri.
Kadri. Well, after that, there was all the criticism, and then all the Avalanche fans and their coach and everyone else. They were talking about this guy, and I think I wrote something about it. I said, like, when did he become Mother Teresa? I missed that. Right? Like, how can you say this about our guy? Right? He's a saint. In fact, the Vatican might be considering him now, in the conclave. I don't know. But so maybe they ought to get Kadri, is he available? I don't think his team made the playoffs. Can they sneak him in the lineup to take Binnington out?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just fly him in from Calgary, get him off the golf course, get him in.
Yeah.
But Bernie, that Mother Teresa stuff, I still laugh about that.
That was
Wait
funny.
a minute.
Yeah.
This guy's like taking out 25 players with dirty hits. I'm exaggerating the amount. His reputation is sealed, right? Oh, our guy is the same. He's just he would never do that. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But Bernie, kind of to your point, it seems like even in that past series with how they treated Nazem Kadri, who has a very big history of doing dirty plays like that, they acted like, media wise, I'm just kind of surprised that it seems like people like to root against the Blues. I don't know if Jordan Binnington has a lot to do with that it's a guy that people just love to hate, and you hate him. If he's not on your team, you love him if he's on yours. But it seems like the way that they treat it, and I was even listening again, we discussed this the other day. I was listening to the ESPN announcers, and the way that they were talking about the Blues were just like these lowly guys. And then even that Oscar Sundqvist penalty, they were like, oh, it was unnatural how he fell. I mean, the way that they're talking about the Blues is that they're the most annoying team in the NHL.
I'm always amazed when national media just like doesn't pay attention to the sport that they're supposed to excel at in terms of covering. It happens all the time. I was reading it. This is a related note, and I'm not trying to shift over to the Cardinals, but I was reading the thing in the Athletic a couple of weeks ago, and Jim Bowden was talking, who was a general manager of 2 teams, by the way. He was talking about the disappointing young Cardinals hitters, and he lumped in Lars Nootbaar with Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman. First of all, Lars Nootbaar has been in the majors since 2021. He's 27, almost 28 years old.
28 years old, yeah.
And he based it on batting average, which, listen, Lars Nootbaar's thing is taking walks and getting on base and hitting for power. He's been one of the top 3 leadoff men in baseball this year, but Jim Bowden actually put him in a group with Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman. And I'm like, they're paying you to know the sport that you're supposed to be an expert in. could you actually pay attention? It's just amazing to me. And listen, I know I'm a freak. I know I'm a total lunatic when it comes to stats. I get it. But if you have a job like that and you've been a general manager twice, all you're going to look at is a batting average and nothing else. Really? That's the best you can do? Anyway, I had to get that rant out.
Bernie, the last thing we talked about before you came on was the Dodgers getting Ryan Ludus from the Cardinals.
Uh-oh.
And that just tells me that Ryan Ludus is going to be a high leverage guy for a really good team, right?
I think so. I almost like hate to do that, but yeah, because they do this time and time and time and time again. I mean, in terms of like being a right-handed hitter, the Dodgers have turned Tommy Edman into Rogers Hornsby. I mean, like what? How does this happen? They do it over and over and over and over again. And you look at the position players that were nothing at other places and then big time hitters, Muncy and Justin Turner. There's so many more. And so I will link this to the Cardinals in another way. And I know you guys agree with me. If any Cardinals fans are still wondering why Bill DeWitt wanted to hire Chaim Bloom, okay, this is like a perfect example. Because Chaim Bloom is from that Andrew Friedman tree. He's the guy that makes all the baseball decisions with the Dodgers. That's his best friend in the game, and they're like brothers. I think Chaim Bloom, I'm confident Chaim Bloom's going to bring that kind of magical touch to the Cardinals where he's going to come up with guys, and you're going to be like, who? And then they turn out to be good players.
Bernie, we were talking about the DH position earlier, and I'm just trying to configure this because you saw yesterday Herrera already looked great in his rehab assignment. You need that bat back in your lineup, but we've talked about those issues behind the plate for him. You keep Pozo around. I assume that's maybe the plan they're going to do. So you're going to have 3 catchers. How do they balance this DH position and the catching position?
That's a great question. I am obsessed with there's a lot of stuff that I obsess over, but this one is actually funny. It's sad and funny at the same time. Do you know? And I've included this in some of the Redbird reviews. At least once, maybe twice here at Sports Hub STL. Do you realize Cardinals designated hitters as a group this year have hit 202 with no home runs and 2 RBIs, and their slugging percentage is 239. Which is like less than what Pete Kozma slugged as a Cardinal. How can a major league team have a group of designated hitters that are just, they don't hit? 202, no home runs, 2 RBIs. I've like had to quadruple check these every time because I'm like, no, this can't be right, but it's right. So I took the long way to get there. I'm all on board with Herrera as the DH, and I'd play him against everybody. I mean, he hits right-handed pitching great. So it's like, well, we might have to put Gorman there against right-handed pitching. Herrera crushes right-handed pitching. He's got massive power. He draws walks. He'll hit lefties. I would go that way. I don't even know that I would do any kind of timeshare. Burleson has done nothing. Burleson has hit for no power. He's a singles hitter. He just doesn't drive the ball. He swings at too many pitches outside of the zone. And when he connects, it's soft contact, a lot of outs. I would be all in on Ivan Herrera as a DH because, listen, as much as I believe over time he would get better as a catcher, throwing people out, Pages is clearly better. I mean, he just is. And Pages has thrown out like 30% of Steelers this year, which is above the major league average. So he's gotten better. But with Herrera, you have to go all in on him as a DH. You can't just keep, DH sometime and then, we got to get Luke and Baker some at bats there and all this other nonsense. No, you don't have to get anybody at bats there. And you don't use any of your regulars. That's one thing about Ali I've never agreed with, and I've told him this. This whole thing about, I'm going to give a guy a half a day off. I'm going to get Arenado off his feet by putting it DH. No, Tony La Russa used to say all the time, when I give a guy a day off, it's because he really needs it, and he's not going to play unless it's an absolute emergency. He's going to get a day off. So who would be the best hitter that they have to DH? when we factor in that maybe he's not the best defensive guy, right? I think it's clearly Ivan Herrera, because Wilson Contreras may not look graceful down at first base, but I was checking the stuff last night. He's a little bit above average in defensive runs saved and outs above average. He's actually doing better than I thought down there. So he's got a good instinct for it. So anyway, what do you think? I mean, and I was listening to your conversation, which was great, but would you go all in with Herrera at DH, or would you have a more, when I say a mix, to me, you got to limit the mix. You can't just have everybody moving in and out of DH. And that's exactly why they're so bad at it, because nobody's used to the role. They're always bouncing around, right?
Well, I think what you have to determine, and you mentioned the Burleson numbers, and this is a weird organization, Bernie. Burleson had a really good year last year, and he's been bad this year. You go back to 2023, Gorman had in 406 at-bats an 805 OPS, 27 homers. That year, Jordan Walker in 420 at-bats had a 787 OPS, 19 home runs. I don't know why it is that these guys fall off after having a good year. I know that they can do it because they've shown physically that they're capable of it. So I've gone from being really confident about Alec Burleson to I don't know. I've gone from being really confident about Walker and Gorman to I don't know. So I guess right now you could do that. You could make that play, but I still need to find out if Burleson can be one of my guys in the future too.
Well, exactly. You know, and he actually started to fade after the All-Star break last year. I mean, I've done his numbers, and I don't know why he kind of went off the cliff after the All-Star break. The problem is he is a great contact hitter, and when I hear people talk about, oh man, what a great contact hitter, but they don't talk about he makes contact on pitches out of the strike zone and he does nothing with them. It's like, no, don't make contact on those pitches, right? Hit strikes. When he hits strikes, he's good, but Matt Carpenter, you know, really did a great job getting his mind straight, Burleson, last year on hitting strikes. Brant Brown's doing the same. Everyone's trying to put stuff in his head, but he doesn't stick with it. But I agree with you. You expect really young hitters like Walker and Gorman to fluctuate, but their fluctuation after that 2023, that downbound train that they boarded, it is just kind of stunning. And I thought that this year they would bounce back, and it's way too early to say they won't. I think Gorman will, but Walker still concerns me very much, and it's he's got a lot of ability. So I'm not sure why they can't unlock what it's going to take to get him going. And I think Brant Brown's really tried. It's not for lack of effort, and he's a really smart hitting coach, and the players love him. They buy in. So I do worry about Jordan Walker, and I like Jordan Walker. And for all the people talking about trading him, just calm down, okay? You know, this is what, first of all, this is what this year is supposed to be all about.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly. But along those lines, Bernie, though, because of what has happened over the course of last year and now this month, I'm giving him runway all year long. But I also want to have, hey, I want Ivan Herrera to show up early to work with John Jay, so that if it's not going to be Jordan Walker in the outfield, if he doesn't work out, that I can plug in Ivan Herrera in left and move Nootbaar to right eventually next year. I don't want to have Ivan Herrera play his first game in the outfield opening day of 2026. I want him to get some teaching out there, and I want the team to prepare him.
I totally agree. And that's a good thought, because maybe they can repurpose him. I've thought maybe he'd be a first baseman, and they might be able to do that down the road. I mean, I know Contreras will have 2 more years left after this one, but we'll see. But it's always the Cardinals under Mo in recent years anyway. Just the island of misfit toys. It's just all the pieces don't fit into place, and you're like, you know, log jams everywhere. But no, they're an interesting team. And with some really interesting players like Victor Scott II. We talk about the young guys that have gone the wrong way, but Victor Scott II is so incredibly better this year, defensively and offensively. You look at him and you're like, wow, it is possible for the Cardinals to take a young, struggling player and do what they can to make him better. And I think John Jay and Daniel Descalso and Brant Brown have a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I think the Herrera thing is really interesting with the outfield because Brandy's floated out this idea for a while. And my only pushback was, man, how bad does that look on the organization that you have Wilson Contreras going to a different position? And they even floated out the possibility of him being in the outfield. He clearly chose first base, and that's what's happening. And then you have another catcher who was actually brought up in your organization who will then have to change positions too because you weren't able to evaluate and develop him properly at the minor league level.
And, sometimes you can move catchers around and it works out pretty well. Like I thought Ted Simmons held his own when Whitey later in Simmons stay here. And Randy knows better than me about this, but he held his own to first base. And I know the Brewers and the Braves played him at first. And then you have the Reds. They tried to make Johnny Bench a third baseman. That was a disaster. There's been a bunch of those. So you never know how it's going to work out. But yeah, and the thing about it is if only Herrera could be respectable behind the plate in terms of throwing people out, and I do think that's why I'm conflicted. I say I would go all in with him at DH, but I also feel a little guilty because that would be pulling the plug on him as a catcher, and I think given his desperation to be better, he's a hungry guy with a lot of pride. Is it too soon to pull the plug on him as a catcher? I mean, there are two sides to this discussion, so I don't know what they're going to do. But it's going to be fascinating, though.
Bernie, one more note about 1983. Johnny Bench had made the move to third. He had announced his retirement early in the season, and the original plan for the Cardinals dealing Keith Hernandez was to send Hernandez to Cincinnati for Johnny Bench and Frank Pastore. And Dick Howsam and Bench actually told this story when I interviewed him one time. Dick Howsam, the Reds general manager, Whitey was going to play Bench at first when he traded Hernandez for him. And Dick Howsam went to Bench and said, hey, you want to go to St. Louis? You get a chance to win there with Whitey. And Bench said, if I hadn't announced my retirement, if it wasn't over for me, I would do it. But because I've announced my retirement, because I want to play my entire career with the Reds, I'm going to respectfully decline. But it was that close. The deal was done, but Johnny Bench was given the respect by the Reds. They didn't have the 5 and 10 rule at that time, but he was given the respect by the Reds to ask him if he wanted to go. But yeah, we could have had that disaster here. That's
a great story. I never heard that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a wonderful story. Boy, Whitey Herzog, did he ever not think of an idea that's outside the box?
Oh man, there were so many.
and to your point of the story you just told, can you imagine? I can only imagine the other things that he pursued along those lines, right? That maybe we didn't hear about. Even Randy Karraker, who has interviewed everybody and knows everybody from back then. Where Whitey probably was working on some things that were totally crazy in a good way. So yeah, it's something else.
And he got lucky also because after the 82 World Series, he offered George Hendrick and Bob Force to the Rangers for Buddy Bell. Buddy Bell was a nice player, but he would not have been a difference maker. But if the Cardinals would have got him, signed him to a contract, then they probably never would have felt the need to make the Jack Clark trade. So
great point.
That one worked out for the Cardinals.
Yeah. Sometimes those deals you don't make pay off big too, right?
Yeah. Do you have a multi-screen night coming tonight?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the one thing about it, I mean, the Blues have top priority, but I'm probably going to have my laptop open to FanDuel Sports Network to watch the Cardinals, and keep tabs on it. And then, and I'm not just saying this. I know people are going to say, "Oh, you're going out of your way to promote SportsHubSTL.com." No, I'm really not going out of my way. I love one of the things great about this operation are all the post-game live streams. And I try to watch I have watched every Blues live stream post-game. I may not watch it at that very second the game ends, but I always catch up with it and watch it from the beginning. And I do the same with the Cardinals. And we put together, well, I haven't put together the team. But the operation has put together a team of like really smart people that know how to talk about these sports, and they're interesting. So that's what, if I could do one thing to promote maybe some new people to the Sports Hub SPL that don't know about everything yet, man, you got to jump on board those post-game live streams for everybody. The BattleHawks, City, Mizzou, SLU, everybody. And because this has never been done in this market, ever. Nothing of this magnitude. So, and if for someone like me, so busy and crazy, and I get up so early that sometimes I can't stay awake as late as I want. I used to be a night owl. It doesn't matter, because I know I can, when I wake up the next day, I can go back and see what the boys had to say about the Blues game with Brendan Schaefer and Stephen Carey and all the whole baseball crew, what they have to say about the Cardinals game. So you don't even have to watch it live. Just make sure you hit it the next day or later that night.
Yeah, Bernie, we didn't have a chance to talk about this because I was out of town, but this Sports Hub STL is built on instant reaction. And I thought that the instant reaction to the passing of Walt Jocketty last weekend was sensational. And it was great to get you on, and you subsequently did your show about it too. But that's why we do what we do. And that was really wonderful. And you and I know we had a chance to talk about Walt, and we had a great deal of affection for him. But to that point, though, when we can respond instantly like that and talk about what's going on right now in the world of sports, that's pretty cool.
No, I agree. And I'm always up for that. I'm always available for that, because I got it set up to where I have my office here, which I call the lair at home, and I never leave it. In fact, Mrs. Birdie, I never leave this office. She actually brings food, and she like puts it by the door. To knock on the door to let the animal know that there's food outside. I'm trying to figure out how to get a bathroom put in up here. So anyway, my entire life is in this one office. So no, I'm making fun of myself as always, but no, I'm up for those things 24 hours a day if something big happens.
Okay, let's do it then. Breaking news. Gregg Popovich has officially retired as the head coach of the Spurs. He'll transition to being their team's president now, president of basketball operations. I would say that you have Red Auerbach and Gregg Popovich. To me, those are and all due respect to the great job that Phil Jackson did in two places. But for me, Auerbach and Popovich are 1 and 2, maybe Popovich and Auerbach as the top coaches in the history of the league.
Yeah, we totally agree. And I've always thought, even now, Randy, and I think you would agree with this, that when I think about all the great professional sports team leaders, people who build teams and then coach those teams, I really think Gregg Popovich has been just ridiculously overlooked. He gets respect and people give him his flowers. Don't get me wrong. I don't think the magnitude and the bandwidth of his career has ever gotten the proper due, because with all due respect to Red Auerbach, and the thing of it is, that's the problems with different eras. It's really hard because people ran teams under different rules in place at the time. But, Red Auerbach built the team and he built the dynasty, and he could keep those guys in place for a long time. He never had to worry about guys leaving, right? Popovich, when he went to San Antonio, the team was garbage, and he built that team piece by piece by piece by piece. He was the architect of that team. And then when they were winning championships and people were leaving and he had to kind of regenerate it a little bit, he did that too. I mean, like when Bill Belichick of the Patriots, that's one of Randy's favorite guys, so I had to bring him up. So when Bill Belichick of the Patriots, after he lost Tom Brady and some others, he was exposed as being, when we talk about great architects, coach architects, all of a sudden he wasn't so smart anymore about putting a team together. And I actually like Belichick because he's an Annapolis guy and a Navy guy like me. So I do have a soft spot for him. And I know Randy will never forgive me for that. I'm sorry, my friend, but no, but I agree with, so people that we anoint as these great minds. Phil Jackson's a hell of a coach. Don't get me wrong. He was. He never had to build a team.
Mm-mm.
Popovich did.
Yeah.
And
Twice.
Pat
right?
Riley did. He went to New York and got the Knicks in a final. He went to Miami and built that. I mean, Popovich is incredible, but I think he made the right decision, obviously. And I hope that his health issues are going to be eased because of this, and he doesn't have to worrying about getting back to coaching. But what a tremendous basketball man.
Yeah. And one other quick point, and I want you to weigh in here, Brooke, too. What would you guys think of Becky Hammon being the head coach of the Spurs?
I'd love to see it. Brooke?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. I
Yeah.
think that we need to get to that point
Mhm.
now. And she's an exquisite basketball mind, and one of his prized lieutenants that moved on to a head coaching job. I think it'd be great for basketball and for society if Becky Hammon would get that gig.
I think so.
And the play, and she's been in place for so long, and in basketball in general, but San Antonio, the players respect the hell out of her too.
Yeah.
So there's no gimmicky thing. It's like, well, we're gonna break this barrier. Yeah, it would be the breaking of a barrier, but it's also that she has more than paid her dues, just like any male would, who and they get jobs all the time. And her ability to connect with players and teach players and guide players, and she's never had one problem dealing with coaching players in San Antonio or some of the other places I think she's worked. So no, she's a very unique individual. So we'll see what happens.
Bernie, have a great weekend. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you, Bernie.
Journalism wins the Derby tomorrow.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Journalism.
Yeah, journalism. Yeah. I went for the real long shot, didn't I? Yeah, it's the favorite, but it looks like a great horse. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me on every Friday. I really
All
appreciate
right,
it.
Bern,
Thank
love
you,
you too.
Bernie.
See you later. Take
See ya.
care. He's great.
Yes. The Kentucky Derby. I forgot about that.
Bernie is a horse racing guy through and through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I always forget about that.
Yeah, it'll be a fun day.
I will
Hey.
point out the Becky Hammon thing with the Spurs.
Mhm.
That would be fascinating just because she was the Spurs assistant for 7 years. Now she's been with the Las Vegas Aces for the last 22, 23, 24. This would be the fourth year going into this year.
Mhm.
It'd be truly fascinating to see a coach jump from the men's league to the women's league back to the men's league.
Yeah.
I just love that aspect
Yeah.
of it because I don't think.
And she won a championship in Vegas, right? Did she win a championship?
Yeah, 2 years, 2024, I want to say.
Yeah.
Or 2023.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah, back to back. They beat the New York Liberty this year. Sabrina Ionescu.
I think it was a great call. Yeah, I could see that happening. And I think that we're at that point. I think the NBA would be a great example of that.
And Gregg Popovich is 76 years old, but he's a very evolved 76-year-old.
I love
Yes.
Gregg Popovich so
I do
much.
too. He's great.
He's
He's
one
one
of
of my
the
favorite
favorites.
coaches. The
Yeah.
Spurs runs is one of my favorite things ever. You want to talk about, I love it because he adapted, to your point. Despite the fact that he was old and, there were years where he hated playing rookies, everyone talked about. He adapted. I mean, you think about the European players, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. They were at the advent of that for years. He coached a very strict defensive scheme, no switching. 2013, ahead of really most of teams in the NBA, he takes Boston's weak side help defense and turns it into what we see now, which is switch everything. And the Spurs were really at the forefront of that. And so for a guy to take one of his basic tenets, win 3 championships with it, and then turn around, change it, and win his final 5th championship with a completely opposite way, that's coaching you don't see
Right. Pretty cool.
across 30 years.
Hey, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube page and like this video. And if you haven't already, go to sportshubstl.com and sign up for the Hub newsletter sent to your inbox twice a week. And anytime St. Louis sports news breaks, you'll be the first to know about Sports Hub STL events and merchandise, get exclusive content and prize opportunities and more. While you're on the site, check out all the St. Louis sports content, including game recaps, programming highlights, news and opinion from Bernie Miklasz, and gambling tips and more. It's all on the website at sportshubstl.com.
Now it's time for the Grim Report.
Report.
So we're going to stick with NBA just for a minute because we discussed this the other day with Tyrese Haliburton's dad, and you saw that whole kerfuffle. Was that a kerfuffle or a brouhaha?
I think it was just a kerfuffle.
It was a kerfuffle, and Tyrese handled it really well. He said afterwards, "My dad can't do things like that. We're going to have a conversation." If you didn't see, his dad really getting in Giannis's grill is the best way to put it, antagonizing him after the game, and that became the story rather than his son and the Pacers advancing. That should have been the story his dad took away from the spotlight. Well, you would think his dad would then just go away from the spotlight. No, he decided to do an interview about what happened between him and Giannis. And he's not really owning up to anything, in my opinion.
I like to make my decision
That's
that
the wrong one.
I've been
That's the
waiting
next
for
one for previewing
since
that.
I was
Here we
It might have seemed like I was looking at him, but I really wasn't. I was looking through him. That's how I was in the moment. I know it looked like we were looking, like I was staring him down, but it wasn't like that. It was in the moment as if I was looking right through him. And yes, I had the banner in my hand going, and I was yelling, "Yay, yay, yay." Giannis never said anything to me. I never said anything to Giannis. There was no back and forth.
But that changed when Giannis went face-to-face with John near his baseline seats a few moments later.
He grabbed my hands, he put his forehead on my forehead, and he said, "Don't disrespect me. Don't effing disrespect me." Okay? And I said to him, I was not trying to disrespect you, which I wasn't. I'm telling you, I did not do that on purpose. I really did not. And then I said to him, "I love you." He said back to me, "I love you." We patted chest. He gave us a thumbs up and he walked away.
Okay, so it got solved there. At least that's nice that it got solved there at the end. But have some accountability. We saw you, even prior to that incident where Giannis comes up to you and goes forehead to forehead. We saw you antagonizing him. You weren't looking through him. You literally, the crowd was going one way. You could see John Haliburton coming towards Giannis with the towel, antagonizing him. He acts like we didn't see any of that.
And he was not saying, "Yay, yay."
It looked like I'm not a professional lip reader, but it looked like he was saying other words,
Yeah,
right?
it really
Like
does,
outside of the cheering him on. I don't think he was, just cheering. It looked like you were directly going after Giannis and trying to antagonize him. And by the way, I think everybody probably saw the reports of this too. John Haliburton has been banned from attending games.
And Brooke, to your initial point, just shut up.
Why
Just
are you doing this?
say,
You're making it worse.
Yeah, just say no comments. You don't have to go on and do an interview. It's not incumbent upon you to do it. And oh, by the way, because of the interview that you did, if we put your interview side by side with Giannis's, Giannis looks 150 times better than you do.
Giannis handled that interview so well. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's really long. But afterwards, he mentioned about his own dad and how his parents would do it. But he wasn't doing it necessarily in like, "My dad's a better than you" way.
No.
It was just that he talked about his dad and the hardships that he went through, that he would never, do something in that situation. And I thought that Tyrese and Giannis handled it well.
Mm-hmm.
John Haliburton did not. And that's the part that's so shocking to me is you just heard your son say that he's going to have a conversation with you about this, that it's not okay. And you turn around, you then turn around and you think your best idea is to go do an interview with a local news station where you don't even fess up. Maybe if you want to do an interview, okay, fine. But the only thing you should say is, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. I shouldn't have made it about me."
Now,
End of story.
Right.
That's it.
I don't recall this ever happening before. I mean, how often have we seen Kevin Durant's mom courtside, right?
No.
And so many players go.
John Morant's dad, though,
Yeah.
I think that's the only other one we've seen where John Morant's dad has
Right.
been an issue.
Right. But I think if I were the NBA, I would want to send the message, and it might not be really nice to John Haliburton, who has been very supportive of Tyrese. I mean, he's gone to the Middle East. He went to the Olympics in Paris. He's followed Tyrese wherever he's gone to play. But I think if you want to send a message, if you are the NBA, then the worst thing that could happen to John Haliburton, from his perspective, would be if he wouldn't be able to get to his son's games as far as they advance in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's not going to be. So he's banned indefinitely.
Yeah.
from the Pacers games. And I think that's the best thing to do in that situation because he didn't handle it well. Also, you're lying. Like we didn't see the video. Yay! Like that was the funniest response. Like that is not what you were saying whatsoever.
No,
but man, I feel really bad for Tyrese. I feel bad whenever I see situations like that where the parent makes it about themselves and they clearly maybe are doing something where they're living vicariously through their child who's become super successful. I hate when I see those situations because what do? That's your parent. They're supposed to be, you're an adult, but they're supposed to be the bigger adult who's wiser and should know better. I hate seeing those things happen.
You hate having to have the youngster be the adult in the room.
It shouldn't be that way.
No.
You should think like, am I embarrassing my child? Yes. Then I need to go away. I need to go away, not make any comments, maybe just put out a statement saying, I'm sorry. Nothing I did was correct. That's it.
But they are living vicariously, Brooke. And that's the thing. He thinks he did it. John Haliburton thinks he did it.
Oh,
and that's what living vicariously through your kids is.
Now you're just distracting from your son and you're putting more stress on your son when he should just be focusing right now on the playoffs.
If you're Tyrese Haliburton and you had that comeback, you had that wild situation against Milwaukee in the fourth quarter, you're down by 20 and you come back and Tyrese Haliburton is the key. Who talked about the game? Nobody talked about the game.
And that was a point that you made the other day is that this has become the story, his dad, rather than what he was able to accomplish with his team.
And it's still, as they move on to the second round of the playoffs with a good team, he's still making himself the story.
Exactly. That's just shameful.
Yeah.
Speaking of shameful, I don't know if you guys saw this on social media. We did a little preview there a second ago, but in the day and age of transfer portals and NIL, I cannot believe that a recruit would do this. So 4-star recruit Trey Taylor, seems like he was going to pick one school, Illinois, but then he faked everybody out and picked another.
I like to make my decision that I've been waiting for since I was in 7th grade when I got my first offer. I'm going to stay home and go to Illinois.
Okay, good.
All right.
Good. Yay.
Oh,
Yay.
wait, what's going on? What?
Ooh. Wow, if only you could see my face in
Cringy.
studio right
So-
now. Breaking news.
That is very cringy. So he made it seem like he was going to pick Illinois all the way to the end. I mean, saying that you're going to stay with your home state team, everything like that. And then you wait for a pause and say that you're going to Nebraska. I can't believe in this day and age.
Put on and said he was going to Illinois.
I'm fine with the hat fake outs. Like we see that all the time where you have all the hats right in front of them. And usually I always thought it was funny whenever I would cover, signing day, it was always easy to tell which player or what team the player was going to pick because the nicer hat was the school that they were going to go to. Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Because it was the cheaper hat was not going to be the one they picked. The nicer hat was the one they were going to go to. I've seen the fake, faking out with the hats. I haven't seen this before where you go full on, you put on the hat, you say even a little blurb about why you're picking that school, and then you don't do that. And your parents are celebrating you. Like, what in the world is going on here? I just think it's crazy that in this day and age of things not working out with the transfer portal, with NIL, and you see players enter the transfer portal all the time, why would you burn a bridge like that with a potential school?
That's a great question. Is Illinois going to recruit him in the transfer portal when
I wouldn't.
When ultimately it works out? I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't touch him. And if I was another school, I'd be a little bit concerned too about that behavior.
But look at the younger I am Oliva, right?
Yeah.
UCLA, he had committed to them, decommitted, and went to Arkansas, and then comes back. I think there's a lot less emotion involved with teams. But what this kid did makes me want to root against him. It will not be hard for me to root against. Is it Trey Taylor?
Trey Taylor, yes.
Yeah, it won't be hard for me to root against him.
Well, don't lock in that opinion just yet because last night Trey Taylor posted this.
Oh.
I want to start this video off with saying thank you for all the support I've gotten today. But I did want to film this video to apologize to Illini Nation. Throwing the hat the way I did today during my commitment is not the way I want to be perceived. And, I know that was very disrespectful. And I really just want to get on here, and say that that's not who I am. That's not the way you know, I want to be known as. You know, the moment got to me a little bit, and I just want to say sorry. But you know, I'm very grateful for all the support that Illini Nation has brought to me, and the coaching staff.
So I'm glad that he apologized. I think somebody probably had that conversation of what I just mentioned of, hey, buddy, you might need to go through the transfer portal one day.
Yeah, right.
You don't want to burn the bridge, because through that process, all the hats that they have lined up, and I'm sure a lot of people understand this, but with that recruiting process, he had schools that he's going to. Illinois was an option for him. So why that's so important is because if you do decide to kick the tires and do the transfer portal one day, you've already had that recruiting visit with them. You've already established that relationship. You don't want to burn those bridges down the road with the transfer portal now and NIL opportunities. So I'm glad he apologized. I just can't believe that's another situation where we're talking about the adults in the room. As a parent, teenagers make mistakes all the time, right? Stupid mistakes. You think you're invincible. You think you're the smartest person in the room. As a parent, why would you say, okay, yeah, let's do this?
Maybe the parent didn't. Maybe they thought
no, it looked like they knew that what he was doing.
Well, I guess they didn't clap initially, did they?
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
It's it's still not hard for me to not root for Nebraska.
That's true. That's true.
That is very true. Yeah. So it was just interesting to see that happen. I'm glad that he apologized, but man, that was a really bad look on his part.
So, and I think that he was probably trying to be funny and trying to, you know, get everybody to laugh.
Or go viral. That's another thing
it
nowadays
is.
of people wanting to go viral.
But then you see the mentions or the response to
like,
what you did. And all of a sudden I looked like a jerk, didn't I?
Didn't I? Yeah. We've seen that happen a lot over the years.
Feel sorry for the young man. Well, you know what? He's going to get a free scholarship out of it. I wonder if Nebraska offered him more money.
Probably. Maybe that's what it was. 4-star recruit.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see that happening.
A couple of other notes that we want to pass along to you, and we do have some other stuff happening. By the way, Caitlin Clark, the betting favorite to be the MVP of the WNBA this year.
There you go.
And
very shocking.
Yeah, Mike Sullivan, fired as the Penguins coach just a couple of days ago, kind of like Jim Montgomery when he came to the Blues, hired as the new head coach of the New York Rangers.
They love recycling coaches, don't they?
Yeah. He had worked for them, for the Rangers, for 4 years before he went to Pittsburgh.
Do you think that the NHL or NFL is worse about recycling coaches?
Oh, I think it's the NHL by a huge margin.
I think
it's
so.
like the same group of like 15, 20 guys.
It feels like almost like a fraternity. Once you get in, you're in, and then you just kind of get moved around a little.
And it's like, well, this guy will reach that point now, but Peter DeBoer, John Tortorella, Peter Laviolette, it seems like
they're all cycling everywhere.
Yeah, let's just go with every coach that has coached the team that you grew up watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They've all been in Nashville.
It's just cycling guys around until you find one that sticks for a little bit, and then you move on.
But I think we're going to have Joel Quenneville get back into the cycle here.
Yeah,
pretty soon.
I wonder what the longest tenure right now is then in the AHL.
It's John Cooper. He's been there a long time, but I think Sullivan might have been second, and the Colorado coach is I think second now. But
Cooper. Even then, it's not much compared to what you see in other leagues when it comes to how long a head coach gets to stay in that position.
It's pretty amazing, actually, in other sports how guys get to 8, 9, 10 years pretty quickly. Yes,
there are only 3 coaches who took the job that they currently have before 2022.
And Bednar.
Cooper, Bednar, and Rod Brindamore of the Carolina Hurricanes, who took his job on May 8th, 2018. After that, it's almost a 4-year gap when Martin St. Louis took the Canadiens job on February 9th, 2022.
Wow. Even 2018 is not that long when you think about it, when you're just looking at Rod and McCain.
4 coaches who took over in 2022, Martin St. Louis, Bruce Cassidy, Peter DeBoer, and Paul Maurice. But every other coach is 2023. The fact that you have 20 of your 32 teams with coaches that are on year between 1 and 3 of their contract is crazy. Wild.
And Maurice was with Carolina. I think he might have won the Stanley Cup with Carolina back in 2006.
Yep.
And then Winnipeg and Florida. He might have had another one in there. Todd McClellan has coached for like 6 or 7 different teams. Lindy Ruff has been around the block.
Oh, Lindy Ruff's with the Sabres now.
Sabres twice.
He's been in Sabres coach 2
Jersey and Dallas. Let's see. Jim Montgomery's on
you
his
even think
third.
Jim Montgomery. Yeah, I was going to say Jim Montgomery.
Yep. Tocchet has had multiples. Berube's had Philly, St. Louis, and Toronto now.
But credit to St. Louis for bringing him into the newer fold.
Yeah,
head coaches.
No, yeah, he's one of those guys. Sheldon Keefe was with Toronto. He's with Jersey now. It's a Claude Julien, our guy.
To your point, Lindy Ruff first took over for the Sabres in 1997. He's then coached for the Sabres, the Stars, an assistant coach for the Rangers, the head coach for the Devils, and then back to Buffalo in 2023.
Amazing.
That is nuts.
That's wild.
That's
26
nuts.
years separating the time you take a job with the same team is wild.
Yeah. So these guys, it is. I wonder how the fraternity. You think it's 15 guys in the fraternity, something like that. It's
That are getting
really
cycled
interesting.
around.
Yeah. But it also the guys win Stanley Cups. Now Scott Arniel will get into the fraternity once he gets fired next year.
It's a busy day for Shams Charania and the San Antonio Spurs. They are apparently hiring assistant Mitch Johnson as the franchise's next head coach, sources tell ESPN. This is Shams Charania on X. Johnson has been an assistant in the Spurs program for a decade, took over as the interim coach in November, and now he has earned the job as Gregg Popovich's successor.
There we go.
There you
Okay.
go.
By the way, John Tortorella,
that?
did we mention him? John Tortorella's
I
coached
think
like
so.
half the league
Yeah.
too.
Torts has been everywhere.
He's the best
Yeah.
one.
I think one of the best sound bites out there in the league when it comes to just you never know what he's going to say exactly.
Mhm.
I think that he's exciting, but I can't tell if players like him or love him. You hear stories about how players absolutely, it seems like it's one or the other. There's
I
no
feel
middle
like
ground
there's-
between him.
One kind of player absolutely despises him, and one kind of player would walk through a glass window to play hard for him.
Yeah.
And I think there are two kinds of players, and they fall into one of those two categories of coaches like that.
And Sullivan worked for Tortorella when he was the Rangers. Tortorella was the head coach. Sullivan was the assistant. Apparently, Tortorella is going to go back to New York to be an assistant for Sullivan.
That is crazy. Well,
That
for
is.
overarching, we should probably, to close things out,
Yes.
this is a very busy night in St. Louis. So this is really cool. You have the Blues tonight at 7, which I know it's not going to be exactly at 7, but
So
you
figure
have the Blues at
19,000 Blues.
Yes.
Okay, let's count the people that are going to be in downtown. St. Louis.
BattleHawks at 7 over at the
30,000.
Dome, and then the Cardinals at 7:15 over at Busch Stadium.
69,000 people in downtown St. Louis tonight.
That's great. I think that's awesome when you have all that. I know that there was some people on social media I saw that were complaining about it,
Oh.
that it would be too hard for some of the workers, different things like that. Because some of the workers do actually work at multiple
Does it surprise
venues.
you where you saw that complaint?
No,
Where-
did you
Does
see
it
the
surprise
complaint
you where
too?
you saw that complaint?
Where did we see it?
Did you see the complaint too? Because I
Yeah.
know who it was. But
Dennis
yes,
B, the guy who just is in on every St. Louis discussion and
Yeah.
has a good take 3% of the time.
Okay. Well, here's
he
the
was
thing.
he was legit complaining, but I'm like, this is a good thing for our city. It's revenue for our city. Why would
Yeah.
you not be excited
he's-
about
Like,
that?
on the surface, he's not wrong.
Why?
But it's
What-
like I like there is a roster of vendors, and I have a feeling tonight probably means there's going to be one or two stands that aren't manned, but it probably also means that the entire Rolodex of vendors is getting hours tonight,
Guys,
which I
Mhm.
think is probably a good thing.
I
because
think so.
If I had to guess, I don't know this for sure. I'll admit that. But if I had to guess, they have more vendors hired than they
Mhm.
schedule every game. So there's people who on certain games don't get hours. So they're probably all getting hours.
Mhm.
Game 5 of the 2013 World Series. The Cardinals obviously were playing the Red Sox over at Busch Stadium, and the St. Louis Rams were playing Seattle at the Dome. And the Dome was packed, 66,000. And then you had, 47,000 at the ballpark. It was awesome. It was great. Nobody complained.
This could be Ben is actually touching on the real issue, which
Mhm.
is the infrastructure in downtown isn't great. And so parking isn't good when you try to go to one event. So when you try to go to one of the 3 events while everybody else goes to, now obviously the parking situation with the BattleHawks game isn't affected
No.
by the other games because they're in a different part of downtown, but there is a lot of people in downtown at once. And so to this could be Ben's point, you might want to get down there a little early.
I think we
Yeah.
can handle
Or you
this.
oobs it. You oobs it.
Oobs it, or just go
Oobs
down
it.
and
I don't like that.
get
You
there.
don't like oobsing it?
No, I don't like that you're saying it like that.
Oobs it.
Oobs it.
When did we decide that we're shortening getting an Uber to oobsing it.
You just take a oops.
Oops,
You invented this 10 seconds ago.
We could do- we could
Not
do-
let this stand.
Like the hubbies? like the hubbies?
See, I'm not having this
Lyft.
happen.
We could just
Okay,
take
hubbies,
Lyft.
take the oobs over to the ballpark tonight.
Go to the pep rally at 3:30 at Union Station.
Yeah, take a oops
Everybody
over there.
Hey, take an oops. Yeah.
That doesn't sound cool to you? Like I think it
I
sounds cool.
Great.
Take a oops. How many
Yeah,
oops are you going
oops.
to take? A lot. I remember I remember when Uber came around.
Mhm.
Like, does everybody remember when that happened? When Uber came around?
St. Louis
Wilson,
didn't want Uber
you
at
wouldn't
first.
remember this.
I remember
It took
but
us a while.
the thing that I remember, Brooke, is going up to
I was in
Chicago
college.
in like
Mhm.
2013, 2014, and Lyft and Uber being a thing there, but it not yet being
Yeah.
a thing in St. Louis. Like I
Yeah.
remember when it still hadn't even hit St. Louis, but it was in the big cities.
It took a long time
It
for
was
St.
kind of
Louis.
wild because you'd be walking through Chicago and you'd see like these cars with like the eyelashes,
Mhm.
or the thing. You'd be like,
Yes,
"What the
I
hell is
forgot
going
about
on
that.
here?" And you'd have to have a local explain it to you.
Yeah, it wasn't even in Nashville. Just to show you how quickly Nashville has blown up, it wasn't even in Nashville yet. But
Yeah.
I remember when I started hearing about it and hearing about Uber, I was like, why in the world would I get into a random stranger's
Yep.
car?
right.
But
right.
now-
Like that was my thought is like, I'm never going to use that. I'm going to get
At your
into
most
some random
vulnerable
person's
moments.
car.
At 1 a.m. when you're a little bit, off the man sodas, as our boy Dunk would say.
Mhm.
Like that is one of the most vulnerable moments that you're like, and you're just getting into a stranger's car.
That's what I was saying. I was never bought in. I was like, I'm going to use taxis for the rest of my life.
That's
That's what we thought.
That's what I thought.
Never used a taxi.
You've never
outside
used
of
a taxi?
One trip to Chicago, which was before 2014, and I had to use a taxi to get from Union Station to my hotel and back. That's the only time in my life
How about that?
I ever used a non-Uber, non-Lyft taxi.
You have to enjoy a taxi in New York City someday, sir.
I don't know.
And
It
I have
looks
yet
it
to
looks
be in New York.
stressful.
Mhm.
It looks stressful.
It's fun. It's
Don't
kind of like
question
going
me
on
on
It's kind of like taking a ride on
Probably
a
like
roller
Google
coaster
people.
at Six Flags. It's
It
great.
would scare me. I think it would freak me out more than anything. Taking a taxi in Tokyo was intense.
I'll bet.
Because even driving wise, I was like, I'm gonna die like every 5 seconds because everybody's just cutting each other off. And then
Those are
I've never
two
been to
cities
New
I really
York
wanna go
either.
to.
Tokyo,
Yeah,
yeah.
Tokyo's
We need
wild,
to
I
do
bet.
a remote
Yeah.
from New York.
Yes, and then Tokyo too. We might as well just throw in Tokyo. I
Brooke,
mean, surely that's a business trip.
So, Brooke,
right?
for the
Not at all.
record, I have done Tokyo twice in my life, and it was absolute. It was raining a lot, but it was a beautiful city.
It is.
I've also done Vietnam 7 times. My dad's side still lives in Vietnam,
Mhm.
and like the thing with Vietnam is the car. There, everyone drives a motorcade, like a motorcycle. So like you're all around motorcycles, and while there are taxis, it's just like it's scary to just drive a van through a city full of people driving motorcycles. It was just like a very weird experience.
That's Wilson. We finally got Wilson's Maritime.
But we'll never show.
Wilson's like knowledge of the world by going to Vietnam 7 times and Tokyo and New York. It really bothers me considering just the cultural side of things from, like, why don't you
Yeah.
watch good movies
Yeah.
if you're willing
Hey,
to travel?
Also, for the record, I've also done London, Paris, the Dominican Republic,
Wow.
Jamaica, South Korea. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
he's well traveled.
I've done
Like,
DeSoto,
Here's my thing, Wilson.
YMC CA Trout Lodge.
He has taken all those flights. He has taken all those long flights, and yet still apparently can't sit down and watch a movie.
There you go. Interesting. Hey, guess what I'm having for dinner tonight, kids?
Is it Fenton Bar and Grill?
No,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
going to have the BattleHawks box from
Sorry.
Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Maybe I'll do Fenton Bar and Grill for lunch.
Oh, okay, that's a good call.
But then, because I'm doing the BattleHawks post-game show here on Sports Hub STL, I'm going to have the BattleHawks box for dinner tonight. You can watch, and I'm going to have the BattleHawks box next to me as Judy and I provide you with knowledge of what happened in the BattleHawks game. You need to be sure, if you're a BattleHawks fan, or even if you're not, that you check out BattleHawks Hub Weekly, available on Sports Hub STL's YouTube page. Judy Straughter and I are going to do it tonight. Usually Luke Slaybaugh does it. He's out of town for a wedding this week, but we're going to get you ready for all of the BattleHawks action after the game tonight. We're going to review it, and we're going to review it with the new Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken BattleHawks box. Score up to 30% off BattleHawks tickets and get 4 of their famous breast strips and a side of potato wedges for just $8.99 only at Lee's Famous for Chicken. Caw-caw! going to be great. So I'm
It
going to be watching that game too because I need to pay
Ooh.
attention to it because I'm doing the post game show.
Yes.
So I've got a
and-
3-screen night, Brooke. I've got.
So you'll pick up the chicken beforehand, so
Yes.
then it's ready to go. So you'll have to
Right.
reheat it a little bit,
Well, I'm going to eat part of it first, and then I'll reheat some for the post game show.
or you could have Oops Eats bring it to you.
That's a play. Oops Eats.
I don't like any part of the last
Would you-
10 minutes of
Oops
this
eats
entire
it.
Yeah.
podcast. This
Would you
is-
rather
Nope.
drive for
Mm-mm.
just Oobs or Oobs Eats? Like Oobs Eats, you don't have to deal with people.
I think Oops Eats would be so much easier because of what you just said. You don't have to deal with people.
Yeah, it'd be pretty good. How about you, Matthew?
Would I rather do Uber Eats or what? Oh,
Oobs
okay.
Eats or just Oobs, where you have
Eats
to talk
or
to
just
people?
Oobs.
Oh, 100% Uber Eats. I did Postmates for a little bit when that was
Uh-huh.
a thing back in like, oh god, that would have been like 2016. Oh my god, that was like 8 years ago. That's
Wow.
crazy. I did Postmates for a little bit. And that's why I tip very well when I get stuff on DoorDash and
Yeah.
Uber Eats.
Oh, good. You know what they say about people.
What do they say about people?
People are the worst.
They are.
People
That's true.
are certainly the worst, which is why I think, as much as I respect the big cities like New York and Chicago,
Mhm.
I don't know if I'd ever really enjoy living there because there's just so many people.
There are a
and
lot of people.
suck.
They do.
Like,
Yeah,
I can
that's
avoid
true.
people in St. Louis pretty easily.
Yes,
I
you
don't have
can.
To, I don't have to talk to people.
You can
if I
avoid
don't want
traffic.
to.
You can avoid
It's
people.
Fantastic. And so, and I feel sad because I feel like I've just been like broken by the Midwest, where it's like I have to be kind to people, and so therefore I have like a stamina of social ability where it runs out, and I'm like, yeah, I'm done with people now for a couple days.
Well, one of the underrated things about it
I
is,
get why people in New
you
York
know,
are angry.
we think we have traffic. We do not
No.
have traffic.
I couldn't
God, no.
handle traffic because every time I hit Brentwood on 40
It's bad.
at like 1 p.m.,
Yeah.
I want to punch a hole in my window. And that's mainly just because I'm mad at Richmond Heights for only allowing us to have 3 lanes on each side.
I've told you guys about when I punched my steering wheel, right?
I've done that before. Did you
So,
break it?
Like
you go through?
I bent it for the rest of the time I had
Oh,
the
that's
vehicle.
impressive.
Oh my
I haven't gotten to
God.
that point yet, Randy.
Is
So
that-
I was younger and angrier.
Yeah,
So-
apparently.
Randy?
So I'm, oh man, let's see, must have been late 80s, 86, 87. I've got a little Honda CRX, like about the size of a smart car. And I have to go to KMOX to produce an open line show, a noon open line show on a Saturday during St. Louis's world famous St. Patrick's Day parade. So I am trying to cross 4th Street. Okay. I'm on Walnut trying to cross 4th Street to go down to the KMOX garage. And this parade keeps going and going and going. And I'm trying to inch up. And I'm there at like 11:20, not 11:20 the station. It was 11:20 a.m. So, I should have been into the building by 11:25 at the very latest. And this parade keeps going and going. And I'm getting more and more furious. I'm sure my face was red. And I'm pounding on my steering wheel. Cursing now and there. Then. And finally, I punched so hard on my steering wheel. We hit it with the palm of my hand that I actually bent the steering wheel. And I finally did get in. I walked in like at 11:59. I sat in traffic waiting for the parade to pass for like 38 minutes.
Oh, that's
was
not bad.
Awful. It
You
was
get
awful.
that angry
I
for
was
38
mad.
minutes?
Oh, yeah.
38
Well,
minutes,
I got mad
I
after
would
like
be-
8.
Yeah, I'd be furious.
Yeah.
I'd be losing it.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because Nashville traffic is like next level bad. I saw somebody comment on that on the chat that Nashville traffic on 24 at noon is nuts. It's
Yeah,
it's
that-
terrible at any time of day at
I
this
was
point
really
now.
mad when I went to Nashville one time, and I was like, I timed it out. I'm like, we'll get there at 3 p.m.
It's
So
not.
we're not going to hit rush hour traffic. It's
Oh,
going to be
yes, you
fine.
are.
It's impossible.
And we hit completely standstill traffic.
Yep.
And I was furious.
It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what time you're there, right?
No, it doesn't. It really
Yeah.
doesn't. There's
But
always something. There's an
I'll
accident.
tell you this. You'll be happy to know that I'm calm now.
That's good.
I'm-
I don't want to see that version of
yeah,
Randy.
no, the angry Randy is gone.
That's good.
So.
It's not good for your heart either.
No, it's
So,
not.
yeah.
Clearly, it wasn't. So,
oh man.
but this was fun. It's been a fun
Yes.
week.
Bye Friday. Bye,
Yeah,
happy
have a
Friday.
great Friday. Enjoy all the games tonight. Don't forget Blues post game, Cardinals post game, and I'll see you on BattleHawks post game right here on Sports Hub STL.